Hello, welcome to About Time. I'm Stephen. Normally, I'm joined on the podcast by my boyfriend, Ben. Today, however, I'm joined by returning guest, friend of the pod, and co-host of a brand new podcast, which we might be talking about a bit later. It's Ianto.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for having me back.
You're very welcome. It's nice to have you back on.
Yeah, nice to be here.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm very good. How are you?
Yes, okay. So we're recording this kind of quite fresh off the airing of the finale.
Yes.
The reality war, which is what we're here to discuss. And we kind of promised ourselves that we wouldn't talk about it at all.
Yeah.
Before recording.
This could be interesting.
So I have no idea. Well, I say I have no idea what you thought of it. I have predictions for what you thought. But
Okay. This would be interesting.
And I sealed myself in a little bit of a bubble, and I've pretty much talked to nobody about it.
Right, okay.
Because I just wanted to kind of sit with my feelings, and I've rewatched it again this morning.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, episode 8, The Reality War.
You went to the cinema as well, didn't you?
I did, yeah. And that's the first time I've ever watched Doctor Who in the cinema.
How did you find it?
It was fun. Personally, I don't know if it was for me. I just, when I'm at home, I have my subtitles on, and then obviously you can't have that in the cinema. So
True.
And someone said to me, "Oh, is it not loud enough for you?" And I'm like, "No, it's not the loudness. It's just processing what's being said." And and then also I sat quite far back as I normally do in the cinema, but the screen is just so big, you can't see all of it at once. You kind of have to move your eyes, and I don't know. It's just a bit, But no, it was fun. It was fun to be there with a bunch of other members of the public who obviously like Doctor Who enough to go and see it at the cinema. Yeah.
Did you get anyone in costumes?
There were some, yeah.
We had some guy in a giant Omega helmet thing he'd made out of cardboard.
Wow. Okay. Did he sit with that on for the whole thing?
I don't know. I only saw him at the end when he was leaving, so I'm not sure.
Because the people behind him must have been like, can't see. But yeah, I mean, I'm delaying the inevitable because we've got to get into the episode, and I literally, where the hell do we start?
Do you work through it in order? My notes are in order, so
yeah, should we just kind of talk about things as they come up then?
Yeah.
Okay.
So for starters, Anita, I'm so happy she's back.
I know.
I was so happy. She's possibly my highlight of the whole episode.
Yeah.
I just found her so likeable.
What a surprise.
Yeah.
I never expected them to revisit the Time Hotel at all, because Joy to the World felt like such a standalone thing that Moffat was asked to just do because they needed a Christmas special.
Yeah.
And it does make me wonder, how planned was it? Did he write that and then Russell think, oh, I can use that? Or what, Because I think the Time Hotel was Stephen Moffat's idea.
Oh, was it? Okay, interesting.
So I don't know. Yeah.
It does throw up a sort of element of, it's a bit of a get out of jail free at any point thing. I think she got a special dispensation for a day, didn't she? So I guess it's maybe a one-off. They normally don't get involved.
I can't remember. Was it, because I know she was opening up windows and looking for the Doctor for ages, but was it an accident that she came across him at that moment and saved him, or was she trying to rescue him because she knew?
I'm not sure. They said how May 23rd kept happening over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Till the point when the version we saw happened. So I'm guessing maybe it happened over and over with the Doctor not doubting it enough to cause the problems, and he never got to the balcony.
Yeah.
And this was the time he did, so she was watching and waiting?
Maybe.
I don't know.
And do I take it from the way she was looking at him with Rogue that she, really loved him, and then she was kind of heartbroken?
Yeah, that's how I read it.
Yeah.
The audience reaction when she was like, and then I ran immediately to Ricardo. Just you gave up on that dream quite quickly, didn't you?
Yeah. But
no, I did really enjoy that. I thought it was great, and I liked the little nods back. And I loved the Rani's discussing it as it was happening. And she's like, I had Christmas off. We had Christmas off.
Yeah, I hooted at that. At the risk of sounding like Russell, I absolutely hooted at that. Because, it's funny, but what was she actually doing then at Christmas if she had it off?
Don't know.
Did she have her feet up somewhere, sipping a cocktail?
Well, she was busy the last Christmas, wasn't she? She was out freezing on the doorstep waiting.
Yeah. The scene where we got that reveal, and finally, Ruby and Belinda were both she's my neighbour. I found that quite underwhelming. It was a bit I don't know.
Yeah. This is the problem of having mysteries that last more than a series. That you're always going to build them up to be something bigger than they ever can be. And it was never going to be that satisfying.
I kind of want to ask you, overall on the episode, are you quite broadly positive or broadly negative or somewhere in the middle?
I'll be honest, I really enjoyed it. I thought that it dipped a bit in the middle when there was the whole Omega CGI situation. Around that point, I kind of wasn't so happy. But then I casually looked at my watch and was like, we've got another half an hour left. And I was like, oh, okay, right, this is going somewhere else.
I was thinking that.
I was like, did they start airing it early? Surely it can't have another half hour going. But yeah, so I dipped a bit in the middle. But otherwise, I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
How about you?
That's good.
I'm guessing you maybe didn't.
Well, I won't say I hated it. I really enjoyed like the first half, I would say. I was thinking, oh, this is going quite well. Then, I don't know, like I just got a bit... I found the poppy stuff at the end quite unsatisfying.
Yeah.
So obviously we'll get into that, but I think that's what confused me and dragged it down.
Like you said, the first half was my strongest part of it.
Yeah.
I loved the battle bit in Unit. I thought they did a very good job of making it look, I don't know, raising the stakes and making it feel a real panic going on.
Yeah.
Rather than just a load of people pressing buttons.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, why the whole tower needed to turn, I don't really know.
Oh, but that was so cool. I loved that.
It was really cool, but I don't know why.
When she was like, this tower's going into battle mode, and then it, that was so good. I loved that.
And the set dressers have brought a big wheel in for me to play with. And
yeah, and someone's getting ready to drop a big polystyrene bit of set.
Part of me, when I saw the giant wheel at the front and saw how it looked a bit like the Valiant, was half expecting the top of the building to start flying, like Valiant style.
Oh, yes.
Was going to take off and be some sort of ship.
That would have been interesting.
But I really enjoyed that bit. I thought it was really well done.
That was one of my favourite bits, actually. The bone beasts.
Yeah, they had a relevance. They weren't just cool CGI.
It sounds, the explanation of them obviously reminds me a little bit of the Reapers.
Yes.
Being these almost like parasites that come to clean up.
Yeah, and I guess if you've got infinity in the time vortex, in theory, there'll be all manner of crazy things that exist in there that I suppose have all become a similar sort of thing anyway. Like they might look different, but they would all serve a similar sort of function.
I don't know, I've always had a bit of a problem with it, to be honest. Like when they mention the Reapers living in the time vortex, it's like, to me, it doesn't seem like, it makes it sound like the time vortex is a place where things can live. And I don't really think it is a place. I think it's more of a concept, if that makes sense. But
I don't have an issue with it being a place. Like in the new titles anyway, it looks like there's planets and stuff in it. I don't know if that's just what the deal with that is, but
yeah, just fancy CGI.
Yeah. What do you think to the whole Zero Room situation?
Well, I liked it. I liked that it was called a Zero Room. Castrovalva is when I remember it. The Fifth Doctor sort of stays in a Zero Room to sort of heal himself. So I felt like it was a nice kind of callback to that.
Yep.
But also, I can't help feeling like Belinda just got shoved in a box for half the episode.
Yeah, it's one of my biggest letdowns of the episode is how little Belinda had any involvement in it.
I mean, I would go so far as to say that the episode is almost a character assassination of Belinda.
Makes me worry how much, like, with all the rewrites and stuff that happened in theory, and, like, refilming and stuff, and what happened between series 1 and 2, whether Belinda was ever intended to be there, whether Millie was meant to be there the whole time, and she was that role, and they've had to split the role into two almost.
I think that's pretty much exactly what it was. Yeah. That's my guess. So Millie would have been the mother.
Which makes sense with the link to Space Babies more directly.
Exactly, because it's both their memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a shame.
But, Belinda, like, she started this series so, like, headstrong and independent and very, like, I'm a working nurse. And, she rejected Alan and his, like, heteronormative, traditional sort of, you're going to be my wife. And I don't know, she was such a great character with so much potential. And I do feel like as the series has gone on, she's kind of just faded into this sidelined thing. And then obviously at the end become this, she's happy now because she's a mother. She's got a baby. Everything's lovely. Yeah,
I totally agree. It is sad.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
She could have been so much more.
Yeah, it's sad. It seems like I think there's a lot going on behind the scenes that we don't necessarily know about. That's just meant that they've had to kind of do the best they can.
Yeah. And I guess thematically it would have worked if it was meant to be Ruby, that they give the wish baby to the mum and she has Poppy and like, oh, it's your turn to be a mother, and
exactly
like, have to being around all of these children, you get one of your own and blah, blah, blah. And that would sort of make sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know, I don't know, this is pure speculation, but it almost seems to me as if Millie wanted some time off, like for a holiday or something, and they were like, no, you can't because you've got to do series 2. And then she's like, well, I'm taking it anyway. And then they're just like, right, well, we better invent a new character then. Like, give most of your episodes to her.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
What can you do at most? 3 episodes? Okay, right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's very strange.
And we've already got this actor that we know is pretty good. We'll give her a call, see if she's free.
What makes me so sad, though, is the promise of Belinda from those first few episodes. Up to the well, like she was like, oh, amazing, and then Lucky Day she was hardly in, obviously, and then from then onwards she just sort of becomes this background nothing.
Yeah, it's really sad.
Yeah,
she could have been great. Well, she was great, and then stopped existing.
Yes. Anywho,
but yeah. I loved when he turned up with the kilt in the hallway and then you could see her face and she was like, I'm going to call the police, my husband's gone gay again.
Yeah. I liked that moment when he, and the visual link between the kind of 1950s work attire and then being sort of transformed into the kilt look, and like they both have the pinstripe, like the sort of waistcoat type thing. It was really clever.
Yeah.
And I saw some people, I did have a look on Twitter, and some people were like saying, oh, how did he magically change his outfit? But that happened to everyone once they kind of realised the truth. Yeah. They all got their own clothes back.
Because the clothes are just imaginary, effectively.
Yeah. And I loved the music. It was like a reuse or a rearrangement of the music from Space Babies when Ruby first enters the TARDIS.
Okay.
And he has this, you know, when the camera pans to him and he's like, I'm the Doctor. And it's like a big reveal moment. It was that same music.
Nice.
It was really good. I also liked in both last episode and this episode, the colour scheme of like blue being the Doctor's colour and yellow being Belinda's colour.
Yes.
And then Poppy being an amalgam of them both. She's dressed in blue and yellow.
Oh, that's nice. I'd not thought of that.
Quite sweet.
Yeah, that is cool. That is
and their
cute.
whole house was blue and yellow. Like it was just, lovely colour scheme.
That is nice. And I'm wearing a suit, I'm wearing tweed, I'm wearing nylon.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. I love that Susan's back. She was great.
She is fun. I do just feel like there's just too many people in that unit, like, to keep track of.
There is, but I suppose if you treat it as a real world, all the people there would be people you'd know, because Kate would get all the people that know what's going on.
That's true.
She would want anyone that's travelled with the Doctor. She would want anyone that's spacey, because ultimately there aren't that many people on the Earth that do know anything.
But where's Donna? I mean, she got this job and she's just like, she never turns up.
No, she's at convention. She doesn't need the money.
Maybe she works from home.
Yeah, we'll say she's busy.
Yeah. They're trying to call her on Teams and she's just like off making a cup of tea or something.
I did quite like the bit with Rose and the fact that the disabled people exist but are forgotten because Conrad understands them but doesn't care. Whereas with Rose, he can't even contemplate that a trans person can exist. Yeah. So she's not even physically there. Was quite interesting.
I still question that. How old is Rose?
Oh, God knows.
Because she's still like, I think she's still a child, really, and she's still like got this integral role at UNIT, apparently.
Yeah, she's definitely under 18 anyway.
Yeah.
She shouldn't have a serious job.
Yeah.
She should be being a pot washer like I was at 16.
I did see someone on Twitter saying that about baby Poppy, and when everyone forgot her, she was like, there's no way Kate would have forgotten her. No, she never forgets a CV.
She's offering Poppy a job. I've got that as a note later. We're offering a job to Anita as well. Like, literally anyone that turns up on that floor. If you've managed to get onto that floor, you deserve a job there.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whether you're a harbinger of evil, who cares? Like, you can have a job.
Yeah.
It was nice in that scene in UNIT when they do the big exposition bit towards the beginning that they do make a point of sort of differentiating the Rani from the Master, which I liked.
Yes.
And making a point of why they're not effectively the same person. Which to the casual viewer, they are effectively the same person, which was good, I thought. I
liked that they used Mel's experience with the Rani, and she was the one to explain who she is because she knows her. Yeah. Again, like Bonnie Langford had hardly anything to do in this episode, but that was good. And she looked amazing.
Yeah. It's the tricky thing of you've got to have a room full of experts who in theory would be all people you would know because that's why they're experts. but there's not enough. Like they all can't be doing something. That's not realistic.
Exactly. Like story-wise, it's each person's quite thin in terms of what they do,
but they kind of have to be.
Yeah, I suppose that's not really a problem, is it? It's all part of a big ensemble.
Yeah.
But it is a bit sad when you kind of want to see more from certain people.
Totally. Yeah.
I have to just point out one thing, and I've said this on Twitter this morning, and people I think are thinking I'm being pedantic. But when Mel rides in on her bike and then she goes, "I have been a housewife."
Yeah.
My head was like, no, she hasn't been a housewife. She just said in the last episode she's single. She lives on her own.
I thought of that, yeah. But by definition, she's not a housewife.
Exactly. You know, like spinster would have made sense.
Yeah.
But she's not been a housewife. She hasn't got a husband, like, to look after or whatever. You can't be a housewife on your own.
She just got off the motorbike and she was like, "I've been watching Countdown." Or something.
Well, that sounds great. I'd love that life. Surrounded by cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Speaking of which, the cats went nowhere.
Oh, yeah. I didn't think it would, to be honest. I was like clutching at straws and clowning about it, but no, it was never going to go anywhere, was it?
How much of what happens, and it is a sad thing in a way, but how much of what happens is just red herrings?
Well, I do think, yeah, because you know how Russell said, oh, you know, what you've got to do is generate content. And it's like how much of what he's put into the show in this era is just to have those moments of people being like, oh, what's this and what's that? And then not to actually do anything with it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not really how you should be telling stories, is it?
No. But equally, now the internet's there versus when his first run, I mean, obviously the internet was there, but not in the same way. You've got to put stuff in to throw people off, I guess, because
otherwise if it's too simple, people will just crack it.
Yeah, because there's no camouflage around the actual story and the wisdom of crowds and everyone watching every single frame 20 times.
But then it's a double-edged sword, isn't it? Because you just end up then with like all these dangled threads that were nothing. Yeah. And you come away feeling like, well, that didn't explain that. That didn't explain. I mean, why the fuck did Poppy appear in Nigeria looking at Belinda?
The wish bleeding? I don't know. Who knows? They just needed to seed her a bit earlier. It would have made sense if it was Ruby. Or more sense, anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I totally agree.
I just have to say as well, like, Archie Panjabi's Rani, like, she is so good.
She was fantastic.
I was really disappointed when she got eaten. Because I was like, oh, you know, if one of them had to be eaten, I wish it had been Mrs. Flood.
Like, you think? I'm torn. I think I only probably would say I'd prefer Mrs. Flood to stay because we're a bit more attached to her.
But that's the thing, she's changed so much since she got revealed to be the Rani.
Well, I was debating this with a friend and we were wondering, because we were saying about the whole thing of if the bi-generation hadn't happened, if she'd not frozen space, she would be, in theory, the one running it all in the finale. Yeah. And that feels weird.
It does feel weird.
We wondered whether it was part of the bi-generation, all of the wicked side of her got put into the Archie Rani.
Yeah.
And she was left with the sort of everything else, the more subservient side.
That could explain something.
Yeah. Because she got the big coat, she got, like, the big statement thing. Like, is she that sort of a symbol of her being the more powerful one? But
then, I mean, you compare it to 14 and 15 by generating, like, you didn't get anything like that then. Like, no. They're very much the same person, like.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Part of me wants to understand more about bi-generation. Part of me hopes it never gets mentioned again.
No, I know. I think what you can infer from this is that the previous incarnation that then bi-generates into them plus another incarnation becomes sort of secondary to the new one. The new one is the true one. It's just this last one's still hanging around, which is why she's like, oh, of course I bow to the mistress or something like that. Yeah,
it's a bit messy.
Yes.
I did like that when they talked about the whole being sterile thing and how that makes bi-generation make a bit more sense.
That does.
In a way.
It does, but do you know what annoys me?
What?
Is that I don't understand. She says, oh, I avoided that genetic explosion. I had a split second, flipped my DNA, made a biological sidestep and survived the carnage. So she wasn't impacted by the explosion, but then she says, oh, we're sterile because of the explosion.
Yeah.
So was she impacted by it or not?
Was it that she wasn't impacted by the because this genetic explosion thing, that was the wiping out of the Time Lords, right?
That the Master did, wasn't it?
Oh, of course.
In
Oh.
the Timeless Children or whatever it was called, yeah.
Right, sorry, I'm thinking it's part of the Time Warp. Right,
No,
okay.
it's the more recent wiping out the Time Lords, which I will admit I'm a bit hazy on, I can't remember. But
the death particle thing, yeah.
Also the way that, it was supposed to be they were all dead and they'd all gone, but she says then, we're actually just sterilised and blasted, like we're not... It's extinction taking a bit slower or something. Does that not mean there should be more Time Lords just hanging about on Gallifrey?
It's all these things where you have to come up with your own explanation to make it work, but is it something like everyone on Gallifrey was destroyed, but the death particle reached out across all of time and space, and that was the impact of those that weren't at the immediate epicentre?
Maybe.
That they were sterilised.
It's really frustrating when you're left to kind of grapple with all these things that don't make sense and try and kind of force them to make sense.
Yeah.
There's always been an element of that in Doctor Who.
And there always is in sci-fi, full stop.
But it just feels like a lot at the moment. And it's like, I love Russell and I love his work. But a lot of the time in this era, it has just felt like I don't understand what he's doing. And it's almost like he's not put much thought into it, which sounds really sad to say, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, which feels weird considering the fact that he's come back implies that he had great ideas and stuff. And also feels a little like he's making it up as he goes along, but like he's come up with a skeleton of a story, but then he's filling all the blanks in as he goes. A bit too, and that the skeleton wasn't quite as fully formed as it needed to be. I don't know. I would love to know what the original shooting scripts were for all of this. That he originally wrote before casting was a problem. And there's a lot of retconning, like Omega, like he wasn't banished. Well, I say this, I've not seen the 5th Doctor story, Arc of Infinity. I've only seen the 3 Doctors. But my understanding, at least from the 3 Doctors, is that he did all his experiments, he created time travel, and in some, I can't remember if it was like an explosion or whatever, they thought he died. And he actually just got trapped in the antimatter universe.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the doing of the Time Lords that he got trapped there.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if Russell hadn't rewatched these classic episodes before and just sort of had a vague memory of what happened to him and just based it on that. I think people had similar complaints about Sutekh.
But the amount of stuff that he can claim falls under the toy makers I made a jigsaw of your history thing. Yeah,
quite a handy line that, yeah.
He can just go, that's just been tweaked slightly now it fits because of toy maker nonsense.
I mean, also he said in an interview when the 60th was happening, he was like, the amazing thing is those 60 years don't matter, the past is irrelevant, it's what's happening right now that's important. Yeah. Which I can understand as well, like you don't need to get tied down in things that happened 60 years ago, but
if you're going to bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And apparently he said to, I think it was Christopher Eccleston, who did some research when he was playing the Doctor and found out that the Doctor's allergic to aspirin or something, because that was mentioned in one Hartnell episode. Okay. And Russell was like saying to him, like, oh, I hate to break this to you, but not everything that was said in the 60s is actually canon. Like, okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's a weird take. Because I saw an interview with, I think it was with the 3 showrunners, saying that they see 2005 onwards as almost fan fiction and don't treat it as real, and that the classic is all that counts. Yeah. So it's a weird, Yeah, I guess what Russell means by that is that even within the classic show, there was a lot of retconning and... True. Things that happened in the 60s then got retconned in the 70s and so on. They didn't really take it with much reverence or whatever for the canon back then. No. It was very much, well, this story works, we'll do it. Especially because in the 70s, it wasn't like you could just go back and watch those ones from the 60s. True. If you'd not watched it, you didn't know. Exactly. So who cares? Yeah. Yeah. And characters would just die, and then, like, the Master would just die, and then he'd be back the next episode, and it wouldn't really be explained as to why. That's just his thing. Yeah. I am glad that we didn't get the Master in this. Yes. I'd heard the rumours that Missy was involved. Yeah. And I'm glad she wasn't. No, I'm glad. It would have been far too much. As much as I love her. Yeah, oh yeah, she is brilliant. Be nice to see her again at some point, but not in amongst all this. And I know I was banging on last week about the Master's music, but I think actually the bum makes sense when you heard the double heartbeat of Omega. It was like, oh, okay, it's just a Time Lord's heartbeat. I guess that kind of makes sense. And that's why the music is the music, so it makes sense that.
It doesn't explain the from Legend of Ruby Sunday, but never mind.
Yeah.
But I loved, I actually quite like the concept of Omega. I can't.
Even Shooty flip-flopped between
they do change. They use them
it.
interchangeably. Anyway, I like the concept of him as the original sin of the Time Lords. Like Adam and Eve, like he'd been cast out because of what he'd done was bad. Even though it may not tie into previous stories.
Yeah, within the context of this episode, I enjoyed what they did with him.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not a huge fan of another giant CGI monster.
I think it was inevitable. I know it would have been obviously much better, like to have him be more like a classic Who, character that you can actually talk to and reason with. And again, in this, it was such an overstuffed episode. I don't think he was ever going to be anything other than that. And also, Twitter has been rife with leaks this whole season. And I've been trying to avoid them. As soon as Omega was revealed at the end of the last episode, people were tweeting and saying, "Oh, Omega's redesign has leaked, blah, blah, blah." And I was like, "Oh, I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this." And I managed to avoid it for the whole week. And then the morning of the finale, I saw this picture that had been going around. And it didn't actually look anything like what Omega ended up looking like. So, but it had a vibe like it might have been some concept art or something that maybe they didn't go down that route. But yeah, it was like this massive brain thing.
Right. Okay.
But yeah, I just want to say, like, people on Twitter talking about leaks, it makes me so angry. Yeah. I'm not going to mention it yet because we're going to come to it at the end. But the thing that happens at the end, that's been going around on Twitter from a leak, and people have been talking about it for weeks now, I think. And I saw it because people were just openly talking about it, and I thought, oh well, that can't be true. That's a load of rubbish. So I was essentially spoiled for that. And yeah, I just want to say, if you want to read leaks, that's fine, but don't just talk about them openly online because people don't want to see them. It's really annoying.
It really is. And like, people just don't seem to be able to get the thing of, yes, you can have a headline of, I think this might happen, but don't put the actual leak in the headline. At least give us a chance to read the headline and go, this isn't something I want to read. I'll skip past.
Yeah. Or it's when they try and be subtle and they say, oh, we can read between the lines. Anyway. Yeah. Rant over.
Yeah, I don't know if I was a huge fan of his design, Omega's. I think I'd have either preferred an updated version of how he looked in Classic, a bit like how Rassilon was in End of Time, and just have him as this, like, in bright light, reaching out of the thing. Maybe even have that gauntlet thing, and that's how he kills Archie Punjabi, or if she had to die. Or go more like the Bone Beasts and have it as a skeleton rather than a slightly mummified skeleton. Like, have it just the same bony thing. Yeah.
I did feel like it felt very much like, oh, we're doing the Sutek thing again. When he came out and he was like, I shall feast on this planet or something. It was a bit like, it just felt very similar to when he turned everyone to dust in the last season.
It did, but then the other side of me says, wouldn't all of these quote-unquote God characters have the same goal in a way? So is it not logical consistency between all of them that they just want to feast on stuff? But it ends up looking quite similar as an end result.
And so was he a god? Had he become a god?
He wanted to be.
They called him the Mad God, and I think, didn't he say the Underverse was because of something to do with wishes? And so
he said he wanted to be the god of time, didn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he said he wanted to be rather than that he was. So presumably it's just like ideas of grandeur that he's a Time Lord, he invented time travel, he's been stuck in this place, he's been warped, thinks of himself as the god of time. Because all of these gods, ultimately, yes, they have a lot of powers, but it's just them saying that they're gods.
Oh yeah, I believe that, yeah, definitely. I also just want to say, this again is an example of something that just makes me think to Russell, like, what are you doing? Because do you remember how when they changed the shape of the sonic screwdriver, he said, I decided to change it because I didn't want it to look like he was holding a gun. And then what does he do with the fucking Vindicator? Look at how he's holding that Vindicator like a fucking rifle, going, like shooting right in Omega's face. Like, and then he's like, I didn't want it to look like the Doctor uses a gun. What's he talking about? Make it make sense.
Yeah, he could have ripped that off and then fired it at the clock or something, and that broke the link and pulled him back. Or
that would have been better.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I didn't understand that.
No, I totally agree.
I mean, again, it looked cool, but it doesn't make sense to me.
No.
I did hoot with laughter at... Sorry, Russell's just possessed me. But when Mrs. Flood grabbed the time ring and then she made the two Ronnies joke, I was like... Literally, because people have been making that joke since they bi-generated.
Oh, have they? I've been off the internet, so I've had everything Doctor Who blocked.
Someone sent me a picture of the two Ronnies and was like, "Oh, look, haha." And then she said it. She went, "Oh, it's a good night from me," and I just went, "Ha!" I was like, I'm glad they actually did that because that is funny.
Yeah, that was really funny. That's one of the great bits of being in the cinema, getting those laughs and things all at the same time.
Yes. Yeah, they should have had a bit with her with 4 candles.
Yeah.
Or something like that. Just as a little Easter egg.
We talk about what Ruby's up to.
Okay.
I like the return of Indigo Tech. That was nice.
Yeah, I like that.
They finally worked it out over the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Although they mention... So she's got a blue button and a yellow button and she should never press the yellow button. But she does and nothing bad happens.
Yeah, she just goes about 3 feet to the left.
Yeah, what's the yellow button?
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah, but I did really like her interaction with Conrad. I thought that was really interesting.
It was brilliant.
And he's such a complicated character that I want to know more about.
I liked that it was a very kind of kind thing that she did of wishing him to be happy and sort of, you do wonder, like so many villains, if you could do that for them. Yeah. I mean, the question of whether he deserves it is another question, obviously, but...
Yeah, and it's also lucky that his happiness wasn't to be Lord and Master of the Universe or something.
Yeah. But I suppose the point being that anyone who wants that isn't happy on some level. But no, I liked that. I think it was a good scene. It's interesting that she brought up his father, and that hadn't been mentioned before, and then he was very sensitive about that. Because obviously we've seen his mother being quite abusive with him. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we don't know anything about his father, but that's obviously a sore point for him.
Yeah. Well, we've had 3 now, so Ruby, Belinda and Conrad both have had a father that they keep referencing but never showing. Like, I fully expected at the end, and I'm clowning again, I did this last time with Ruby, but that the father was going to appear and be someone we know.
Right.
When they kept referencing him towards the end, and that he was just out of shot or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I had a vague memory that there was some casting announcement for Belinda's dad, and I was expecting to see him.
Right.
But maybe I've misremembered that. But
unless he got cut, maybe. But it seems weird that you'd mention him several times and not show him when you've shown her mum. But I don't know whether it's just red herrings. But
yeah. I also just want to mention that Rani's line when she said to him, "You really are ridiculously handsome. I could tilt you on your side and serve olives in those dimples."
Go have a cold shower, Russell.
I know. I literally burst out laughing at that, and I think I was the only person who did in the cinema. And then I was like, I felt so embarrassed. Like, I've just outed myself.
Yeah. I just turned to my friend and went, "Russell's getting horny."
Yeah. Did make me laugh.
And the way he just has his silly little smile when she says it.
Yeah. I feel like the biggest thing we haven't talked about is Poppy, and because obviously basically the second half or the last third of the episode sort of revolves around her. Mm-hmm. I just found it really confusing because I had this expectation that, so the doctor kept saying, "Oh, she's real," and Belinda felt that she was real.
Why do they think she's real?
Well, they have some emotional connection to her, and that's hanging over from the Wish world. And also, I can understand what they're saying, that like, okay, it doesn't matter where she came from, how she came to be. She is a person with a life ahead of her. Like, so she's as real as anything. Yeah. I can understand that, but then it just got very convoluted because she was based on the Doctor's and Belinda's memories.
Yeah.
And then she didn't exist at all.
Yeah.
And then she got brought back and she was just Belinda's daughter with this other random guy that we never know about.
Yeah.
So why did she look like Captain Poppy? Because Belinda never met Captain Poppy and this other bloke never met Captain Poppy.
No.
It doesn't make any sense.
It kind of doesn't, no. And also when he says about how she's a person that she did exist, she doesn't now. How many other people were invented for the Wish world and now don't exist? Like, presumably there's plenty of others that he doesn't try to save.
There might have been, or maybe Poppy was just special because it was connected to the Doctor.
Maybe.
But yeah, it was just, when they came into unit and they said, "This is Belinda and this is our daughter Poppy." And Kate was like, okay, you've gone too far now.
Yeah.
I was like, that kind of sums it up. Because, again, like, oh my God, where the fuck was Susan? Seriously.
Yeah.
Like, why would you bring her for these little flashes of grandfather and sort of tease it and then just not have her be there or even mentioned?
Yeah. If she's not in the next series, then it's something's going on. Like,
it's like, why?
Because everything that she did in that episode could have been covered by Rogue, like it sort of was in the last one, or vice versa.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I honestly thought that Poppy was going to be linked to Susan, either to be Susan or to be Susan's mother.
Well, I wondered whether they were going to have that Poppy was real, she was their daughter, because she was part human, she wouldn't have a regeneration option, she would have had Susan, and then the episode would end with Susan dying, not regenerating because she can't. And that's just like tidy her away and like give her a big send-off, was how I thought it would work. There's not enough Time Lord in her for her to regenerate.
No, that makes sense. But yeah, it just felt like they were setting that up with last series, with the whole like, you know, I've got a granddaughter but I haven't had children because of the life of a Time Lord and all that. And then here, lo and behold, he has this daughter. And it's like, well, there we go. That kind of slots in. And then it turns out to be something completely different. And it just got very confusing.
It did. It got very messy. Did you believe that he doesn't remember her in that bit when only Ruby knows? Oh,
I believed that.
Because I wasn't sure whether he was pretending to save Belinda the pain of it or something.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. No, I believed him.
Right.
But I thought the way that particularly him, but also him and Belinda were responding to it was quite rude, to be honest. Like, especially because Ruby's had these things before where she, you know, she has precedent for remembering things.
She does. But equally, I would wonder, is there the opposite of, well, if I was Ruby and this whole world has collapsed and there was nonsense and people have forgotten stuff, wouldn't you just go, well, maybe I'm remembering nonsense?
Well, yeah.
Like,
yeah, you probably would.
What makes my memory more viable than everyone else in the rooms?
Yeah, I think that's part of Ruby's character, though, isn't it? She's quite self-assured in that way.
And then you got Susan saying, twist that is, that the Zero Room does exist. So had she already built that? Because she mentioned about how it was a room that they could have all hidden in or something. Like, and they'd be packed in like sardines. Like, they'd just be crazy.
Yeah, that is ridiculous, isn't it? It's one of those just like, to make it make sense. I think the answer is because she built it for Poppy, and then when everything got shifted, that was just her mind's rationalising it. Yeah.
I didn't know whether they already existed or they were working on it and the doctor gave her what she needed to make it work or something. Because otherwise she's built that whole thing in about 20 minutes.
I was going to say, it sounded like she just threw it together. Like, yeah, maybe she got it from IKEA and it was just a flat pack.
Yeah.
Crazy.
She just upcycled a soundproof recording booth.
Yeah.
I'd enjoy the shrinking jacket bit.
That was good. That was clever.
I didn't understand what was going on to start with. On second view, it was very obvious, but I did enjoy it.
No, that was done well. And actually, when I was first watching it and Ruby was watching them and they were discussing, you know, where they're going to go next and everything, I thought the camera kept showing her because she was getting jealous about not being able to go with them. But obviously it's not that. It's what's happening to the jacket and all that. But then they do this whole thing of, who's Poppy? What are you talking about? And the cot is just sitting there for a long, long, long time. Yeah. And it's not until she actually says, what do you think the cot's for, that it disappears.
Yeah.
Like, surely they could have seen it. Like, but I guess they just weren't paying attention to it.
True.
Until she drew attention to it and then it was gone.
Maybe the console was in the way for them. They couldn't see it. I don't know. But
then he goes to the door to throw the star certificate. Oh, yeah, I don't know.
I did think for half a second, and then I realised what was going on, that the TARDIS was finally getting some set dressing. When you started to see it with chairs and stuff in it.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just the remnants of Conrad's room. But I thought, finally, we're getting like a sofa and stuff. Yeah, I was really annoyed.
So was the TARDIS the Bone Palace, or was the TARDIS hidden in the Bone Palace?
Yes.
one of the above, yeah.
I would say it was probably the centre of it and what was powering it.
Okay.
Is what I'll go with.
Makes sense. Well, it doesn't, but we'll say it does.
Let's say it does.
I'm still not done. I'm still not done, like, going on about Poppy and how much I just don't understand the whole thing. Like,
yeah. So those flashbacks to Belinda wanting to go home, I need to go back and rewatch the episodes, but it wasn't like they cut off the end of a sentence where it could have been that she'd always wanted to get back to Poppy.
No, it was time got rewritten.
Yeah,
to be
I thought it did.
Yeah.
It would have been nice if those statements were a little bit more ambiguous and on a second watch made sense.
As if it could always have been the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she was living in a student flat and stuff.
She was.
Like,
well, yeah, no, it was a house share, but not a student.
However it was, yeah.
But no, I think that just exemplifies why it feels so dissatisfying. It's because she was so like, oh, get me home. I've got a life. I've got to be there for my shift and I don't want to be doing this with you. And then in the end, it just turns out, oh, get me home because I'm a mum and I've got a baby. It feels like quite a different thing.
Yeah.
I will say, on a second watch, I felt slightly better about it because I think when I watched it in the cinema, I didn't quite twig that, oh, she's still a nurse because she said she was working nights. So when I watched it first, I was a bit like, oh my God, so she's no longer got a career. She's just become mum, which felt very like misogynistic and just like pointless and sort of like absolutely destroying her character. But then...
she's still working at the hospital.
Yeah, she said, yeah, I'm working nights. So she's obviously a working mum, which is okay.
I will allow it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the "Will I ever see you again" bit from Belinda. And I just turned to her friend and goes, "Depends what your agent says. Whether you get more work or not."
Yeah.
Will your contract allow? I do hope she comes back.
Oh yeah, I'd love to see her.
It would be nice to see her.
Yeah. So the Doctor says that the only way he can rejig reality is to use his own power of being a Time Lord or whatever. So he sacrifices this incarnation for that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, how did you react when you twigged that meant he was leaving?
Yeah, well, I think it was when he went back into the TARDIS and said something along the lines of, I'm going to miss this face or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay, we are going here then.
Yeah.
I was a bit sad.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I've not connected that greatly with him. I think he's a great actor. I think he would have been a fantastic companion. I don't know. I think it's probably more that we've just not had enough time with him.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, we've had 18 and a bit episodes.
And several of those were Dr. Light.
Yeah. There's maybe 12 or 15 episodes where he's a proper character. Like, I just don't feel like I've connected with him in the same way that I have with others. He's not had a lot of big speeches where I've really felt... I buy him as a character, but I don't buy him as the same character.
It does just feel like we've been shortchanged a little bit.
Yeah.
It's an unfortunate situation.
Yeah. And I think it's at his request, though. I don't get the impression that he was asked to leave or anything.
Oh, no, definitely not. No, for me, it's clearly because of Disney and their decision and the time frame involved.
Yeah.
It would have been unfair to expect him to wait around, sort of not knowing when or if it's going to happen. Because, he did say when he was on Graham Norton, he actually said, yeah, I'm coming back. I'm going back to film series 3.
Yeah.
So obviously something changed between then.
Yeah.
And I just think it's the case that, well, Disney sort of dug their heels in and said, well, we're not going to commission it until we know how series 2 does. And so he's like, well, I'm not hanging around for that. So, yeah.
I'm surprised he couldn't. He could have just gone, well, I've got a year before we'll be filming again. I'll go and do this project for a year and then come back. That
is a fair point.
You'd have thought they could make things work. It's not like he's contracted as Bond or something where they're going to be filming a film every year for the next 6 years.
Yeah.
And he's fully contracted to that.
They presumably had a lot of discussion with Russell and whatever, and they kind of came to the decision together. Like maybe Ncuti was saying, I don't want to, if and when you do get the green light, I don't want you to feel that you're waiting for me to be available again.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
I didn't see it happening, to be honest. I'd heard obviously all the rumours.
Yeah, all the rumours.
I put it down to people being negative and miserable.
Of course,
and
yeah.
hoped it wasn't happening.
Yeah. And even actually when he said, oh man, I'm going to miss this face or whatever, and all that, part of me was thinking, oh, maybe he's not actually going to regenerate. Maybe it's going to get resolved somehow. Maybe it's a bit of a fake out, But obviously it wasn't.
I don't know, I took it still having X amount of time left. I was like, this is about the right length of time for a regeneration.
And it struck me that that's probably why it's an extended episode. It was probably originally intended to be a normal length, and then they kind of tacked on. That's why the Omega stuff feels so early.
Yeah. But then we got 13.
Oh my God, I was so happy. I was so happy to see her.
I really was.
She was so lovely. I mean, wow. Like, I don't think you or me are either particular fans of her era.
No.
But the nostalgia of seeing her back, and she's just, her performance is just so full of
warmth.
That's the good word. Yeah. And life. And it was amazing.
And I don't want to be a dick to that era, but I felt that she did better in that scene. I bought her so much more in that scene than I did in any point in her era. She just felt so much more natural.
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
It didn't feel forced. It felt real.
Are you saying you think it's the writing that enabled her to...
Part of it's the writing, part of it's maybe she's just been away from the character, come back, and she's not got the weight of the series. It's just she can just enjoy this scene. There's no stakes as such.
That's true.
But yeah, I'll make no secret that I didn't like her era, but I did love that scene. It
was beautiful. I mean, I clapped, like my cinema clapped, and I clapped. It was lovely. It was just completely unexpected. I think, again, I've seen on Twitter that it was leaked, and some people knew. Okay. But I mean, everything leaks at the moment. There's somebody working in there who's just leaking everything.
Yeah.
They need to track them down and exterminate. Well, no, that's a bit extreme. Kick them out. Yeah.
Luckily, since you sent me that message a few weeks ago about saying that there were leaks coming, I blocked everything.
Yeah.
And luckily for me, I had nothing in the last 2 spoiled, I don't think.
That's good.
Yeah, no, I don't think I had anything spoiled. Other than obviously the rumours of a regeneration. But there's always rumours, isn't there? There was nothing concrete, which was nice.
It did make me laugh. Have you watched Unleashed?
Yes.
You know, she was having trouble with that one techno-babbly line that she had. And then rewatching the episode, they did a clever bit of editing where it cuts to the back of her head. So they probably did it in ADR or something.
Probably. Cut 3 takes together.
Try shifting your third strand of phenotype markers 1 microspasm to the left. Yeah. Oh, I love her.
She's great.
So glad that she is up for coming back as well. Because it does feel like she was underserved by her era.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, she's such a good ambassador for the show. Like, she's just like, I just loved her entrance when he said about I was the best, and she was like, let's say best male. Like, amazing.
Don't tell the others.
Yeah. Loved her.
Part of me wondered whether we were getting several others and that we were going to all start appearing and trying to talk him out of it.
Yeah.
Kind of maybe glad we didn't, but yeah, it was a lovely scene.
Yeah. Oh, and the joke about David Tennant.
the howl in the audience when that was said.
That other guy, he's always turning up.
He's always popping up. And everyone knows who you mean.
Yeah. I hope he found that funny, because it is funny.
Yeah. I was fully expecting him to be in this in some way, shape or form.
I know. Do you know when Ncuti woke up in the garden? Part of me, so for my first thought was, is this the Edge, like the Guardians of the Edge?
Yeah.
And then I saw it was like a garden, and I was like, oh, is it Donna's and 14's garden or something? But
I went through a roller coaster at that point. My first thought was that it was the library. Like, it looked all like green, and like he was going to be, that his memory was going to end up with River or some nonsense.
Oh, wow.
And then I thought, Tennant's garden. And then I thought it looked a bit like Amy and Rory's garden that they go and sit in at the end of Wedding of River Song with the trellis and stuff as well. And
I suppose a suburban garden is a suburban garden.
Yeah. I love that there's always wisteria. Wisteria blooms for about 3 weeks in a whole year, but there's always wisteria in flower.
Looks pretty. Yeah, also forgot to mention with Jodie the comment about I love you. I never say things like that. I should say that to Yaz.
Yeah.
Loved that.
I wasn't sure what I thought about that.
Well, it's like, because like, it was like heavily implied in the Chibnall era, but we never really knew. And even in this, like, we don't know if she means platonically or romantically or what, but it's nice, I think.
Him pouring the regeneration energy in and the screen cracking. I thought Russell had been looking through my phone at this point, because I don't know if you remember me saying the theory I had for a spin-off that I loved, of that it would end with the Doctor regenerating, the screen would crack like glass. I literally wrote that in a message to a friend. And the episode would end. And then you'd have a spin-off of them trying on old faces or new faces or whatever in a sort of in their mind to work out who they should be next.
Right.
And I was like, well, first that could be what's happening.
Exactly.
But the fact that it looked literally how I imagined the screen breaking into pieces.
Oh, wow.
Like,
maybe he has been hacking your messages.
Yeah.
That's funny because at the cinema, we literally got an advert from WhatsApp beforehand saying about how everything's encrypted and no one can read your messages. So it'd be ironic if that's what happened.
Yeah, but I thought you could have a great mini-series of just random people playing the Doctor, and they would just be like a record that's broken, skipping between faces. And you could bring in people that would never commit to a series. You could have Judi Dench in for 10 minutes. You could have whoever the hell you wanted, and the whole story would be just like this dream nonsense that would, at the end, make sense of the face that they would get at the end and the personality they would get would make sense based on the series. It might only be like an episode or two. You have any old nonsense. You could have Dalek, Cybermen, Master, whatever pop up. Any companions. And it would just be implied that happens in the split seconds of every regeneration of them working out who they need to be next.
Yeah. Or there's just a reason why it's happening on this one.
Yeah.
That would be so good. And like you said, it's not impossible. It might be that something like that is happening.
And you don't have to worry about it. It could be pure fan service, but it's not in a way that it's bad because it's not real.
Exactly.
It is just like a dream.
Yeah.
You could have Ace come back and be the Doctor for a bit. You could have anything. Whoopi Goldberg mentioned she'd want to play the Doctor. She could be in it for 20 minutes, like anyone.
Yeah.
But who knows? That might be what we're getting.
That would be so cool. Well, yeah. Before we get on to that, the face.
Yeah.
A couple of other things. Nice little callback to Eccleston where he said about, you won't see me again, not like this. And pointed at his face. It's like, yeah.
That's nice.
He obviously went through that whole goodbye to Belinda. Why did he not say goodbye to Ruby?
Don't know.
And also, why can't she travel with him again now? Like, if she wanted to. Yeah, she's not even given the option. Yeah.
She wasn't there for the reshoot, was she?
Well, no. Yeah.
She wasn't available.
And Joy, the star?
Yeah.
Why?
I'm all for flashbacks, nostalgia. I don't care about fan service. I love it. That felt unnecessary.
It did. It felt so unnecessary. I mean, I hated that plot point anyway when she turned into a star and all that. So, you know, the only thing is that it brought in the music from the end of that episode, which was reused for his regeneration, which was perfect and beautiful. And I liked that it inspired him to say, you know, this has been an absolute joy.
Yeah, I think it was just to get the word joy into the sentence
probably
organically.
But it did feel a bit like, oh, do we have to do this?
Yeah. I hoped that when he said he didn't want to do it alone, that it was either just that he's surrounded by the universe and he's not alone, or he was going to like materialise, I don't know, over London or somewhere that means something, and would do it there.
My head was when he said, I don't want to do this alone. I thought he was going to go to 14.
Right.
And be like, oh, hi, you know, I'm going to regenerate.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that would have been awful as well. So.
Or you could have done, if you could have got people back, you could, if, you know, it would have leaked, but if you'd managed to get back every returning person you can think of, Karen Gillan, everyone, and just have them lining those walkways, just in his mind.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would have been nice. Them all just looking down on him and going, I'm never alone or something.
Yeah, it would have looked a bit like
everywhere or whatever.
A bit like the 50th anniversary after party thing with all the previous actors and stuff just hanging around. Yeah. The visual effects of the regeneration were a bit different.
They were.
A bit weird.
So I have theories on this. We'll just say it. Did Billie Piper leak or not? Because I've been off the internet.
Yes, it did.
Oh, did it? Oh, okay. Yeah. I thought they'd managed to keep it secret. Oh, okay. That's a shame. Part of me wondered whether it was a case of only 4 people in the world knew that was happening, and they'd just get one CGI person to do it, and they had to rush it. They only filmed it last week, like on a green screen in the front room.
Yeah.
And that's why it looked a bit different, because they couldn't dedicate the whole team to it or something.
No, I don't think it's that. The other thing is as well, like that there was all this speculation about it being an open-ended regeneration.
Yeah.
That we just kind of leave it on the cliffhanger.
I expected it to fade to white.
Because that's very much what it looked like. And it looks like that was the intention. and then they decided to put Billy in because he disappears, and in that split second I thought that's it, that's what they're leaving it on.
I did.
And then she suddenly appeared, and it was like, and she's been sort of superimposed onto it.
I don't know. I hoped it wasn't going to fade to white. I really hoped it wasn't, because as I'm sure I said to you a few days ago, like, I want it to end on we're definitely getting another series cliffhanger. And if it had faded to white, that would have been the ammo that everyone on the internet needed for it's being cancelled. They have no faith in it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
But this, to me, says if they weren't certain that it was carrying on, they'd have cut that and it would have just faded to white.
That's a good point.
They wouldn't end it on that and then be like, oh, okay, we're not going to make it again for the next 10 years.
Because that would be highly embarrassing.
Yes. He must know categorically that they're making another series.
Yeah. Well, I'm pretty sure the BBC have said that now. They've said, regardless of what Disney say, there will be more.
I just wish it had ended at the end of the credits with the Doctor will return in 2026 or at Christmas or whatever.
Yeah. Do you know, the interesting thing is that... lots to unpack really in this, 2 seconds of screen time. But Billie Piper appears.
Yeah.
She says, oh, hello.
Hello.
So first of all, who's she saying that to? She's breaking the fourth wall in her first line.
Is she?
Or is she talking to Joy?
I would do it as she's just talking to herself.
No, but she literally looks down the camera.
Yeah, I think it's just that's where the camera happens to be.
No, I definitely read it that she's looking down the camera.
Okay.
Because it's kind of a golden rule in screen acting that you don't look down the camera at all, unless you are breaking the fourth wall. And that's just how her eyes literally met the viewer's eyes. That's how I see it. And this fourth wall thing's been going on now, and it's it's obviously not part of anything that's going to be explained. It's just, this is what Disney Doctor Who is like.
Yeah. I'm annoyed that the Rani Mrs. Flood thing hasn't had an answer, if it ever will, about it. I could understand if she'd done it once. Maybe the end of Empire of Death, her rooftop thing, you could argue for whatever reason. But she's done it multiple times. Yeah,
it really felt like it was going to be a thing. And the Doctor with his in all my adventures there's always a twist at the end, and then he looks at the camera, all that stuff.
But they have done it before, Capaldi did it with the whole explaining paradoxes thing for ages.
That was so subtle, wasn't it? That was just the tiniest little blink and you miss it thing.
Oh, no, that was the whole pre-titles.
Oh, that's true.
Where he was explaining what a paradox was with Beethoven.
Actually, yes, I've forgotten that.
Did you think when he sits on top of the TARDIS and says, listen?
No, I swear there's I can't remember what the moment is, but I swear there's a moment where he's talking and then his eyes just literally flick to the camera and back.
Right.
Can't remember what that is, but no, you're right, he does. But that just feels different somehow, because it's like a stylistic, separate
Agreed.
bit.
Yeah. This justify it away.
Happens in the middle of a story.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't want to bang on about that. But so Billie Piper. Yeah. I think it's very interesting and very telling that nothing official has been posted about her being the 16th Doctor.
Yeah.
And she's credited in the credits as introducing Billie Piper.
Yeah.
Not what it usually would say as the Doctor.
As the Doctor.
Yeah. So theories.
Yeah. Is it Bad Wolf nonsense? I'm just going to put it out there. If she is the next Doctor, I'm incredibly happy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not one of these people that's, jump the shark, blah, blah, blah. You've got no fresh idea. I don't care. I think she's a fantastic actor.
Yes.
I think she would be incredible. I think she was great back then. I think she's only gotten stronger since.
Yeah, I would agree completely.
I think she would be fantastic.
Yeah, I said this to you the other day, that she was so instrumental in the success of that show in 2005. She is a fantastic actress. I would not be mad if she was.
No. You'd have a 5-minute thing of her recognising that she's someone she was before. She's not Rose. She just looks like Rose.
Yeah.
But I really hope, because I feel like if it's not that, and it is just some, I don't know, set up for a Christmas special or something where it's just a one-off. Unless it's like what I said, where she's just going to flick through different faces.
It could be that.
And even then, I feel like it's setting up, it's just going to be disappointing. That you've said, oh, you're getting Rose as the Doctor. Oh, but you're not.
Yeah. She's also made a not made a statement, but there's a press quote from her where she's said, how could I say no to stepping back into the TARDIS one last time?
Yeah.
Which sounds like it's a one-off. Yeah.
Doesn't sound like a serious commitment. Yeah.
Yeah. I personally believe she's not the next Doctor. Otherwise, they would, for marketing and publicity, they would be posting, "Welcome, the new Doctor." Yeah. You know what I mean? So they've been very, very careful how they word it. So I think it could be just a sort of interim, like halfway point.
It could, but then the other side of me thinks when they said that Ncuti had been cast, they said he was 14.
I don't think they did. I just think they said he's the Doctor, and then we all assumed 14.
Oh, I thought they did. Maybe you're right. Yeah.
Yeah, they did. They're very clever about how they word it.
Right.
Which again just points me to this, that like, yeah, it's not what you think.
I hope it's not. I hope it's real. I would think she would be great, and I'd like the dynamic of female Doctor, male companion, as I'm sure you said a few days ago as well. Yeah. Like, I think that would be great. I think she's got the energy. I think she'd be fantastic. The internet doesn't seem happy about it, but the internet's never happy about it.
And I'll be honest, in the split second when it happened, because again I'd heard these leak rumours and I dismissed it. This when it actually happened and the face appeared, I was sitting in the cinema and I put my hand up to my face and I was like, "No, why have they done that?"
Oh,
because
really?
my instant reaction was, "But she's Rose, it doesn't make sense." But then literally after about 5 minutes, I was like, she's an amazing actress. It doesn't matter. She'd be amazing. Yeah. But I think that was my instant sort of the fan in me being like, or the logical side of me being like, that doesn't make sense. But no, I mean, it's not an issue.
There was 5 of us went to the cinema and all of us on the car ride back were so excited about it. And then I went to the internet and the internet was the internet.
Of course. Yeah.
And miserable. And I was like, what makes you people happy?
Someone shared a clip from I think it was a panel with Christopher Eccleston on it, and he said that I think Billie Piper should be the new Doctor.
Right.
And then he's like, because A, she's a fantastic actress, and then he's like, and B, I just want it to like mess with all the fans' heads and be like, oh, it doesn't fit with the canon. Oh, she's an assistant, she can't be the Doctor.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of had his wish come true in a way.
Yeah. Well, might we make it like, yes, okay, so it's been David, we've had Billy, we've had Peter Capaldi as previous faces that he's gone back to. Like, yes, it sounds like a lot, but equally, the Doctor's the only real character that we ever see regenerate. It could be a common thing that people regenerate into a face that they already know, but we just never see all the hundreds of other Time Lords that do it.
You say that, although I think every time it's happened, the Doctor has been a bit like, well, this is strange. Like, when he recognised his face as Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not saying that it's common, but that it's not rare, that it does happen.
Yeah, okay.
Especially when you take into the fact that he's into his post-12 regenerations thing. Does it just get a bit mad now? Like, maybe it's that he's ran out of faces. He's had his 12 bodies, and now it's a bit like, well, anything goes, because they were the 12 that you were always going to get. Now we're into uncharted territory.
Maybe.
Something, I don't know. Yeah. I don't have a problem with it anyway.
No. No.
I can understand why people do. But I'm all here for it.
I think it's a very tricky situation, because the people who are happy that she's appeared will be disappointed if she's not a full Doctor.
Yeah.
So, yeah. The thing is, though, remember when people were asking her if she would do a Rose spin-off series, and she was like, well, if it was like 3 episodes and filmed in London, then maybe.
Yeah.
So is she really going to commit to doing a full series?
But she lies. Like, they kept it a secret that she was coming back for the 4th series. So, I don't know. I think she's just a good actor and says what she needs to say in interviews to keep her agent happy.
Yeah. Well, time will tell. I wonder how long before we actually find out any sort of news about future Who.
Yeah. People online are all like, oh, there's no official line. It's like, yeah, but it's not even 24 hours. Give them time.
Yeah.
And part of me thinks that, I know we obviously said it did leak a bit, but they couldn't just tell everyone and have articles pre-prepared and stuff.
No.
So there will be a bit of a lag while they publish what they need to publish. I would like something soon, but... And if it is going to be a fake out and that she isn't the next Doctor, it would be nice if it was sooner rather than later.
Yes, so we're not left sort of waiting.
I don't see it happening, but if it was in a Christmas special this year, awesome. Find it unlikely, but...
Film it, very quickly in a... in a cupboard. And, we will see. So, obviously, we've got the war between the land and the sea to look forward to as well, which
that
looks
looked cool.
Interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
It looks quite meaty, like all the political stuff going on.
Yes. I was getting Children of Earth style vibes of it's going to be a...
Yes. which sounds promising. Not 100% sure about the Sea Devil look at the moment, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Devil.
Yeah. Part of me wondered on a stupid thought of teal looks a different colour, whether that's like why they look a different colour, and like he's just going to start retconning random bits and pieces just to fit things.
Oh god, is teal the new Mavity?
I wondered whether they were going to bring fix Mavity, and Kate was going to be in, and Mavity's now called Gravity or something. Was how they were going to fix it.
Yeah,
but I will die on this hill of I want that joke to live forever.
No, I know it makes me a miserable bastard, but it bugs me so much because it doesn't make any sense, because the word gravity etymologically comes from a concept of something having weight to it, which I
don't care. Why do you hate joy?
Just call me Susie Dent. But yeah, I mean, so much. I mean, I left the cinema and I was just like, my brain just needs to process. And I still don't think I've finished processing.
No.
Talking it through has helped a lot.
What were your thoughts on a second view? Did you enjoy it more or less?
Probably more. I didn't hate it in the cinema, and like I said, particularly the first half, I was definitely thinking, "Oh, this is going well," like compared to Empire of Death.
Yeah.
But yeah, just the ending. I was a bit just confused. It's that all the poppy stuff just felt really like convoluted.
It was weird. Yeah, and my mum's already asked me to explain it to her, and I'm not sure how I do that.
Well, that's funny because my parents haven't watched Doctor Who for a long time, except for the last 2 Christmas specials, which I watched with them.
Right.
But they haven't seen any of the regular series of Shooty. And yet my mum texted me this morning and said that she and my dad caught the last half hour of this episode. Right. And she said they started watching it and then they had to watch to the end. And I was like, that must have been so weird, having absolutely no context of the last 2 years. And my mum said she was disappointed that Shooty regenerated, because she was like, I like him as the Doctor. I think he's fun. I said to her, well, if you like him, there's 16 episodes of him you haven't watched. Like, go and watch them.
Those.
Yeah.
He's in at least 12 of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the resolution of the Wish baby situation. I kind of hoped, I liked that he made it a normal child and it gets a nice upbringing and stuff, but I kind of hoped that his last wish would have been, and that the gods are back where they belong.
Oh,
or
yeah.
something. And that we close that door and they're dealt with. Would have been nice.
Wishful thinking.
Yeah.
I don't think that's dealt with.
No. I'm funny on the gods. I don't want them to be big bad anymore. I don't want them to be finale episodes every time. But I love Maestro and Lux. I thought they were some of the best episodes of this run.
Yeah.
And I would be happy to have occasional lower power gods that aren't all about the end of it. Well, I suppose Maestro was, but yeah, where they just pop up very occasionally, at max once a series.
But then do those characters need to be gods? Can't they just be...
No, I guess.
Yeah.
But that they're special and that the rules don't work in sci-fi way, I guess.
I suppose, yeah, that would be good.
But yeah.
Actually, apart from anything else, it's just going to get very predictable if it's just every season is building up to a big god CGI beast coming out of something. Yeah.
At least this time, the Wish God was more... They were a vehicle to make the story work rather than anything else. They were just, right, okay, we've got a god that makes wishes. That is a thing. Now what happens because of that?
It was a bit confusing how the Doctor said, oh, he's human by birth. Because he was...
He was a seventh son of a seventh son of a seventh son, wasn't he?
He was, but then he was also a god. So...
I think it was just because of his birth being special meant that he had these powers. Because isn't there a folklore thing about a seventh son of a seventh son of a seventh son is special or whatever?
Magical, yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was just that.
So he was literally just human.
Yeah.
He just had this god status because of his birth.
And that they inferred on him. I don't know why he giggles, but anyway.
And then, yeah, exactly. So, yeah.
He's contractually obliged by the Pantheon.
Yeah. If it's like this god was born into the body, like manifested in this child, I could understand it, but then...
I guess once you took the wishes away, he became back to being
a regular child. But yeah, he's going to grow up and be, I don't know, whatever, just a random... A bit like Susan Twist, just another sort of byproduct.
Yeah.
Joe Sunday.
Yeah. Nice that he got nearly the same name as he originally was getting, wasn't it? Jonas or something?
Yeah, close enough.
Yeah. And the doctor couldn't be bothered to go and find out who his family are. It's just like, oh, we've got a foster mother here, she'll deal with it.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could have plugged that baby into the TARDIS and it took them back to Bavaria.
Yeah. Oh, well. Oh, and did the children just stay as ducks, or did that get reversed?
I don't know.
Did things get reversed, or did it just be like, well, there's no more wishes?
He said, Ruby said this wish ends, didn't she? Or the wish ends.
Yeah.
Presumably meaning the existing one, but that wouldn't affect the ducks and stuff.
Mm. Oh,
I did like that it wasn't just a big hit the big reset button.
Yeah,
in a way,
that's true.
like everyone didn't die and then come back magically.
Mm. But I do wonder what the ending was when it wasn't a regeneration story.
Yeah,
like how he resolved it. Like, because also you won't have seen this because you've been avoiding the internet, but there was a picture that came out from, I think, a foreign version of Disney Plus, where there was an image that was used for publicity, and it's the Doctor and Belinda in a club dancing.
I have seen this. Yes,
yeah,
actually,
and
this morning I didn't realise that's where that was from.
Yeah, and people are saying, well, that's the original ending that they ended up cutting.
Right.
So very interesting, yeah.
I'd love to know what was originally going to happen, because if you consider that it ended with Omega getting shoved back in the door, that was only like half an hour of the episode.
Mm.
What would the other 40, the other 20 minutes?
Yeah, I'm presuming that all the Poppy stuff was still in it. It just ended differently.
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe Susan was going to appear, but that would be awful if she got cut just because they had to change it to regeneration.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. I have one final thing to ask, though. Do you know the Doctor flying on the Rani's Segway thing?
We don't have time for stunt flying, Doctor.
No, we don't. Is it just me, or did he fly up a bone beast's arse and then out its mouth?
I think he did, yeah.
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 Okay. Just
for the fun of it,
double checking, yeah.
I think he did.
That was very strange.
We also got another nod of the boss.
Oh my god.
So, Series 3's character.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of hearing about this fucking boss.
Stop being miserable. Why do you hate Joy?
Well, I said to you the other day, I'm always trying to be positive on the podcast, and now I think I've just reached my limit. It's the end of the series.
I'm intrigued whether the boss is a good guy or a bad guy.
Yeah. Because
the presumption would be bad character, but the immediate assumption is the Master. Because do you have something like... Because the Doctor said that that's the last TARDIS left in existence. And the Master had a TARDIS previously. Presumably that's gone for whatever reason.
Mm.
Has he created the Time Hotel as a way of time travelling?
Maybe.
Because who else would know time travel?
And Anita used the pronoun they for the boss.
Mm.
So we're not revealing anything. Or,
no.
Yeah. So it's interesting.
Yeah. It's sad that Ncuti will, at least on screen, be the only Doctor to never face the Daleks.
Yeah, very sad.
Yeah.
I saw someone put together a little chart of all the Doctors and whether they faced the Daleks, Cybermen or Master.
Yeah.
Ncuti's the only one that's not faced any of them.
Yeah, that is sad. It feels like it's a rite of passage.
Oh, it does, yeah. I'm sure Big Finish will be...
I'm sure.
Yeah, one day. But yeah, I do feel like there's going to be, in years to come, like maybe 10, 20 years, there'll be lots of stories from the behind the scenes of this era and what was going on.
When NDAs start to run out.
That'll be very interesting.
Mm.
So I guess it's time to rate the episode out of 5.
Mm.
It's quite a tricky task, I think.
It is. I was thinking this before we chatted, what I would go as. It's one of those ones that at the time I really enjoyed. I did really enjoy it. I thought it dipped a bit, like I said earlier, in the middle, but I really enjoyed it. Probably helped by the cinema, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Although it didn't help Empire of Death. But talking about it, there's a lot of holes, but ultimately, as much as no one likes to admit it, it is a children's programme. Does it matter if it has holes?
I never thought I'd hear you say that.
I don't want to be miserable. I'd go 4.
Squibbly dibbly.
Okay, wow.
I did really enjoy it.
Good. I'm glad.
And I can't put it as a 5, but I did really enjoy it.
No, I'm happy for you.
Here's where you go, -1.
No. I'm leaning towards a 2.
Puke.
Wow.
Yeah. I was left quite dissatisfied by a lot in this episode.
Oh.
Like I said, it felt like it was going somewhere in the first half, and I thought, yeah, this could be really good. I think it's just the fact that all this was set up with Susan, which didn't go anywhere, and the baby, Poppy, felt like such a perfect opportunity to tie that together. And then it just went down this really weird route of like, well, this baby that is never existed before now exists, and it went through several different versions of who the parents were, and I just found it quite confusing, and not just confusing, but just dissatisfying. So yeah, I don't want to be miserable, but I do think it was quite a disappointing end. So yeah, I'm gonna say 2. But it's been a great series. Yeah. I just feel like everyone was saying throughout the series, like, oh, if Russell can stick the landing. And for me, I don't think he did.
Yeah.
But that is what it is.
I think he could have stuck it better. I was happy enough with it. But, yeah. Maybe just I'm a basic bitch, I don't know.
No. You're probably just more open to Joy than me.
Except Joy, she can go away.
Yeah. Do you have a favourite and least favourite thing from this episode?
My favourite bit would probably be Anita. I just loved her. I thought she was so good. I know she was a small part of the episode, but I just really enjoyed her. I thought she was great.
She kept saying, oh, I just work in hospitality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved her so much. I hope she's not the last we see, and I'm guessing she won't be if the boss is tied to the Time Hotel and therefore going to be important in the future. As for my least favourite, I'm torn between the lack of use of Belinda and the convolutedness of Poppy, which kind of sort of tie together in a way.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where I'd go.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think I'm exactly the same on the least favourite. You know, Belinda was shoved in a box.
Yeah,
and
quite literally.
Just turned into, literally, and turned into just mum character.
Yeah.
And it just felt like such a disappointment for her character.
Yeah.
But my favourite bit, probably Archie Panjabi. Yeah, for someone who was quite sceptical about the Rani returning and whether they would, whether there's any point bringing her back and if they would do it well. Yeah, she did a great job at that role.
She did.
Really enjoyable to watch. I also obviously ask on social media what listeners thought of the episode.
Oh, this will be fun.
Well, yeah, there's there's a lot, but I've just chosen a few highlights. Georgie says, just baffled my head, to be honest. Not so sure about the ending. Also would have liked to have seen Susan. Annoyed Omega was built up so much to be there for like 3 minutes and CGI. Kara says, I'm so tired of writers giving female characters a baby as shorthand for a happy ending. It's lazy and reductive.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yep.
I mean, that's not to say that having a baby is not a lovely, happy thing, but yeah, for it just being shorthand for like, there we go, she's happy, she's tidied away, yeah. Fizzcox says, I have no idea how you're going to cover all that in a podcast episode. I could do a whole podcast on Mel's hair alone.
A little toss as she took her helmet.
Yeah. Blue Blah says, I think the ending after he goes back into the TARDIS to bring Poppy back was done beautifully, but everything else made my brain die 1,000 times over. And Richard says, fantastic fun. Yes, it's messy. Yes, it's a bit silly. When hasn't Doctor Who been messy and silly? And yes, Omega was underserved. But as a piece of entertainment, just fantastic fun.
Yes, that's what I say, Richard.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Someone on your team there.
Yay.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I do a little question box on Instagram, and people can just submit to my story what they thought. And if you just scroll through that, you've got like someone saying, why? Someone saying, oh my God, hated it, kill it with fire. So, yeah. Certainly not universally loved. No. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, and it does feel a little bit of a shame that for his last episode it was kind of overshadowed by Billy Piper being back. But
yeah.
You see the BBC News article of it, and it had a picture of him mid-regeneration and just says spoilers ahead at the top of the article, but in the caption under the video was just Shooty regenerates into Billy Piper.
Okay.
I'm like, I feel like you've missed the point of the spoiler warning here.
Oh dear. That's silly.
Yeah.
It was, I don't know, it does feel like there's a lot of spin going on in terms of, you know, they've got videos out of Shooty going, oh, it was always the plan to do 2 seasons.
They always say that,
was it? No, I don't think it was. I don't think it was. So. Oh well. End of an era.
Indeed.
And the first time ever that a Doctor has left and regenerated, and we've not had it officially.
No. Yeah, first time. And yes, you said there was leaks and stuff, but nothing categorical by all accounts.
No. So yes, there we go. That was the reality war.
It was.
Thanks for joining me to talk about it.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure to have you on.
Aww.
And if you enjoyed listening to me and Ianto waffle on, you might be interested in our brand new podcast, which is going out now. It's all about Inside Number 9, fantastic dark comedy anthology series.
Please watch, please listen.
Please do. Yeah, it's called The Ninth Degree, and I'll put a link to it in the show notes. But yeah, it's a great chance for us to nerd out and stuff.
What we do best.
Exactly. So yeah, do go and check that out. I think by the time this goes out, our first 3 episodes are out, ready for you to listen. So yeah,
exciting.
Go and check that out.
And as a spin on that, for anyone that is listening, did you spot the hidden episode title? That
I did. I was like, was that deliberate? I was like, yeah, I bet it was. That was a nice Easter egg, a nice crossover. The About Time podcast universe is expanding.
It'll make more sense if you listen, but yeah.
Yes, well done. But that's that for today then. About Time podcast will be back. I have some things in the pipeline that I'm working on to go out in the feed, and I'm really looking forward to starting Series 6 with Ben.
Me too.
So hopefully you're looking forward to hearing that.
I'm excited.
But until we return, listeners, stay cool, stay safe,
stay fantastic.